So if you want to follow this journey realistically, respectfully, and in real time, make sure you subscribe. One of the hardest parts of this journey was letting go of the guilt. My name is Tiana, and I'm really glad that you're here. Before we get into this video, I want to start with something very important. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. I am currently a teacher. I respect what I do. I care deeply about my students, and I value the community I work in. This video is not about quitting, complaining, or speaking negatively about education in any way. This video is simply about growth and how I personally started exploring tech and new skills while still teaching. So if you're someone who feels curious about new opportunities, new skills, or just listening to that quiet inner voice that says, there might be more for me, this video is just for you. I want to take a moment to say who is really meant for. This is for teachers who love their students but feel curious about what else they're capable of. This is for women who want flexibility, stability, and long-term growth. And this is for anyone who feels like they're outgrowing a season but still honoring. If you've ever thought, I don't want to start over, but I just want to expand, then you're in the right place. My respect for teaching. Teaching has given me so much. It taught me patience. It taught me how to communicate clearly. It taught me how to manage time, emotions, and expectations all at once. Teachers showed me strengths that I didn't even know that I had. So when I talk about exploring tech, I never wanted to sound like I'm dismissing teaching. I'm not. Teaching is a big part of who I am, and it will always be. Please comment down below if you would love a story time on how I became a teacher and a little bit of my journey before I wanted to land into this tech field. But also, growth doesn't mean rejection. Curiosity doesn't mean disloyalty. For me, this curiosity didn't start with burnout or a breaking point. It started quietly. What do you mean, T or Tiana? I noticed that I really enjoyed organizing systems, solving problems, learning new tools, and figuring out how things work behind the scenes. Even in the classroom, I was doing things that aligned with tech skills. So analyzing data, creating systems, adapting quickly, and troubleshooting problems on the spot. That's me. And I remember one specific moment and really stuck with me. I was sitting in my car after work, not stressed, not upset, just quiet. Because it can be very noisy, and especially in my current position, it's loud. But instead of feeling exhausted, I just felt curious. I prayed. I said, God, what's my next step? And I caught myself thinking, I was like, I wonder, like, what else could I learn? What could I transfer these skills that I already have into something new? That moment surprised me because it wasn't coming from happiness. It was just coming out of growth. You really sit down with yourself and have a serious conversation with yourself, like, okay, God, where am I supposed to be? What's my next move? That shows growth. That shows that you really are listening to yourself, and you're taking the time to notice that change is coming. But when I was going through that, thinking back on it, I didn't act on it right away. I just wrote it down. I prayed about it, and I just put it in the Bible. I didn't Google it that night. I didn't chat GPT a response. I didn't tell anyone. I just let that thought sit with me for a while. And I said, I'm going to wait till God tells me to move. I started school in the spring. So it wasn't maybe until September, October-ish. I was like, ooh, God said, you're going to go back to school. So then I said, God, and I couldn't go nowhere else than the illustrious North Carolina A&T State University. Yes, I did get my undergrad there. In education, general ed, and special ed. I looked at all the things that they had to offer. Tech really spoke to me. It also was an extra plus for me that it was an online program. Again, I'm still teaching, still in the classroom. So those are all things that I had to consider as well, just with my current situation and what was going on. But I promise you, that did not make it any easier because it was online. I feel like it was harder. I appreciate the rigor I don't want anything to be easier given to me. I strive to work hard and give it my very best. Like just who I am, I feel like I'm definitely a hard worker. Okay, let's get back on track. All right, so why tech stood out to me? It values continuous learning. So you're not expected to know everything. You're just expected to grow. That's what I love. Tech values systems and structures, which teachers already live in that world every day. I'm a teacher who loves checklists. I have me an ongoing to-do list. I have me a planner. I like to know what's the 411, what's going on from the front to the back, from A to Z. So this was right up my alley, like in the nicks and crannies of like this data or all this information. Even though tech is so broad, it's so many different opportunities that I can take. So I feel like I'm enjoying, you all go on this journey, and that's another rabbit hole in itself on which avenue that I can take. I love how vast it is, which makes it that I can choose this way or that way. Just me having that ability. So mentally thrive, or that drive to continue to want that structure, that's what also made it kind of easy for me to say tech. But thirdly, tech offers flexibility and long term. It just creates flexibility in itself. It be work from home, whether it be hybrid. It just creates so many different avenues and opportunities. It's kind of make it depending on what company or which route you take. What really clicked for me was realizing that tech didn't require me to erase my past. It allowed me to build on it. Teacher skills weren't wasted. They were just transferable. I also want to be honest about something. I question myself a lot. I can tell you that too. Anybody that knows me, I may ask whether it be, hey, what you think about this? Or I'm even questioning myself. But I did ask myself, am I being unrealistic? Am I allowed to want something different? Down below if you want to hear story time on how I became a teacher, my journey, my process. I didn't give up. That's another story for another day. Does it mean that I'm ungrateful because of what I went through, undergrad, and then now I'm thinking about doing something differently? Going back to the skills that I had were transferable. So it was an easy connection. But I also often have to remind myself that curiosity doesn't mean dissatisfaction. It just means that you're evolving. So I gave myself permission to explore quietly. No pressure, no announcements, no deadlines, just simply learning. One of the hardest parts of this journey was letting go of the guilt. Especially as teachers, and honestly as women, we're often taught that if something works, we're supposed to stay forever. But I had to unlearn this idea that being good at something means you owe it your entire life. You don't. If it's not working or you feel like you need to change, pray on it. Have your support system, talk with them and see their opinion. But ultimately, it's your decision. Again, I'm a Christian. I relayed God. I listened to him and asked him, should I do? I prayed on it before I actually did it. But still, figure out what it is. Write your pros and cons of whatever the next step is that you're thinking about doing. And if it's meant for you, go for it. But you can appreciate a season and still outgrow it. That realization didn't happen overnight, and I'm still constantly working through that. Again, because I'm still teaching, and I'm also in the classroom, right? So those were some things that I'm still working through. So how am I still doing this while I'm teaching? What does that look like? I want to say this clearly. I am still teaching. I'm still in the classroom. I'm learning tech continuously. So yes, I graduated December 12th, but tech is constantly changing. The company, some people do it this way, like there's right or wrong way. So I'm still learning and growing. And what does that look like for me on a daily basis? I'm still learning at the work, on the weekends, time. But also more importantly, I'm just protecting my energy. I'm not comparing my timeline to anyone else's, and I'm giving myself grace. It's okay. I'm not chasing the trends. I'm not rushing any outcomes. I'm just simply building my skills. And if you're watching this and feel like you're behind, I want you to know you're not. You're right on time for your journey. So if you're watching this and you feel torn, grateful for where you are, but curious about where you're going, I want you to hear this. You can honor where you are and still prepare for where you're going. You don't need permission. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to have everything figured out. Curiosity is enough to start. So if you want to follow this journey realistically, respectfully, and in real time, make sure you subscribe. I'll be sharing what I'm learning, how I'm balancing teaching and growth, and what this transition actually looks like. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.